My fellow Americans, the living memory of the World War is close to each and every one of us today. Our thoughts return to the great objectives of the past, even as the minds of older men go back to their boyhood's ideals. We Americans were so placed in those days that we gained a perspective of the great world conflict that was perhaps clearer than that of our fellow men who were closer to the scene of battle. For most of the first 3 years of the conflict, we were not participants. But during the final phase, we ourselves engaged on many fronts. For that reason, perhaps, we understood as well as any the cries that went up that the world conflict should be made a war to end war. We were not invaded, nor were we threatened with invasion then or later. But the very distance of our view led us to perceive the dire results of war through days of following peace.
Hi, and welcome to Ward 13. And we're doing a show on Veterans Day, as you can see in back of me. And we have an old friend, Dan Bolvio. Am I pronouncing it right? I am part French, so. Bellevaux. Yeah. I'm John Claude Hopwood. When I run for office to get the French-Canadian vote. And we have Pete, and I've forgotten your last name. Escalera. And hey, why don't you introduce yourself first, Pete? We see that you're a Marine.
Yeah, My name is Pete Escalera, for those that don't recognize me. I been here in Manchester for over 30 years in Ward 2. I entered the Marine Corps from Brooklyn, New York on October 13th of 1969 and came back home to my sisters and mother and father October 13, 1971. And
2 years. Did you do a tour in country?
I was a draftee. I got drafted into the Marine Corps.
They did take draftees after 68.
It was a time when I tell you the truth. LBJ wanted Westmoreland wanted 70,000 more.
Yeah.
Over there in Nam.
There was already 540,000.
And at first LBJ said yes, and then around 70 he said no.
Yeah, but that's when Nixon was president.
We're getting out, We're getting out of here. So that's it. I love Manchester, and the services that the Manchester VA gives to the veterans here in this great state and to any veteran.
Dan, you are the commander of District 4 of the Veterans Council. Am I right?
Well, you get
I'm getting two things mixed up because
So
I'm reading your name tag.
Yeah, so I'm the commander of District 4 of the American Legion.
Okay, excuse me.
Which is 16 American Legion posts from Hooksett down to Pelham, over to Candia, including Goffstown. So that's
Okay.
16 posts. Some are doing well and some are struggling, but you know, we work with them and try to get them going. I'm also the commander of the Manchester Veterans Council, which is composed of all the veteran service organizations in Manchester. They can all have 2 representatives sit on the council. That includes the Catholic War Vets, the Marine Corps League, the DAV, American Legion, and the VFW.
Yeah.
And I may be missing some. I have to look at the bylaws again. But so our main purpose is to organize and run the parades for the city. So we do 2 parades, the Veterans Day Parade and the Memorial Day Parade. We also do a small ceremony on Pearl Harbor Day down in Arms Park, which is usually pretty cold and windy. So we
Yeah,
have
I
a
would imagine.
small turnout.
Yeah.
We've also done, well, when Mike Lopez was really active, and he's still fairly active, the World War II Memorial, which
Yes.
is in the corner of Veterans Park. I did the, let's see, the Park Service wanted to improve Veterans Park. They wanted to get rid of the wooden benches, so I set up and organized getting donations for granite benches.
Right.
And they all have people's names, whoever they want to donate them or remember. And then we had the 5 service flags put in. My next project for Veterans Park is a Korean War memorial.
Hey, Brendan, we have a video. I can't remember what it's called. Is it
Memorial Day 2020.
right? Memorial Day.
Oh.
It's a very short video about Memorial Day of this year. Yeah, if
Okay.
you could run that.
Oh, good.
And you were there, Dan.
Nice.
Yes. So what we saw was the dedication of the first 3 of 5 what we call battlefield crosses. It's a pair of boots from that era, a rifle turned upside down with the bayonet in the ground, with a helmet on top of the rifle. So we dedicated 3 that year. I mean, on Memorial Day. This year we're going to dedicate 2 more, World War I, and I think the Gulf War was the second one.
So the Vietnam War, that was up that day, right?
Right.
The one for the Vietnam War.
Correct.
And there was fundraising. I know Mike helped raise funds. And I think they raised $10,000 each, right?
It was $5,000 each.
Oh, 5,000.
Yep.
And then, yeah.
The VFW in Manchester donated for $5,000 for the World War I memorial.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's that was my grandfather's war.
wow.
He was disabled American veteran of World War I, which we started the show with Franklin Roosevelt, 1935,
Right.
Armistice Day. Armistice Day, Veterans Day comes out of Armistice Day, which was to recognize the worst war in history, and the war to end all wars.
Yeah.
And fortunately, and FDR was the Assistant Secretary of the Navy. President Wilson, he wanted the commission in the Navy, but nope, he had great managerial skills. So he's the Assistant Secretary of the Navy. and he talked about how unique America is because we've never had been invaded, and we didn't get into that war for 3 years, but it gave us a perspective about how to keep the peace. Yet he also said we are not going to stand for aggression. And then within 6 years, he was the commander-in-chief of 16 million men and women that went to war. And that was my father's war, which he joined out of high school.
Wow.
Joined the Navy in 1944.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's disabled veteran, too. My grandfather would not allow him to join the Marines, which is his number one. But then he wanted to be like a paratrooper. Nope, you're going to join the Navy or nothing else. Because he and his brother had been in the trenches of World War I, been gassed. And Americans went over, but it took a long time to get mobilized.
Yep.
And the bulk of the action they were in was only like the last 2 months of the war. And 52,000 Americans died in those 2 months, which is almost all in Vietnam in all those years. So it was a war. Nobody wanted another war like that. Yet it came. And now we have Veterans Day.
Right.
Grew out of Armistice Day. And people ask, what is Veterans Day? It's like Mike. I asked Mike Lopez, Mr. Veteran, who enlisted half of Manchester, it seems, in his years, including my sister Debbie, became the Women's Army Corps in Vietnam. And then she came back and worked with him, enlisting people later. But Veterans Day honors all American vets, both the living and the dead.
Right.
And it's... in some ways, it's almost, this is just my opinion, almost more sacred than Memorial Day. Memorial Day is very important, but I don't know, maybe because my grandfather being in World War I. What does Veterans Day mean to you, Pete?
It means a lot. It gives us the opportunity to stop and think of the sacrifices, that so many men and women in World War I, the greatest generation in World War II, that stood fast. It was a time in America where everyone united for one cause, and that was to survive. You could just imagine if we would have lost the Pacific, the campaigns in Europe. And those guys and women, because they were women, but those our fighting forces, our Air Force, our Navy, Marines, Army, Coast Guard, those corpsmen, they took the next step. They charged those hills. They hit the beaches. They flew over 20, close to 100 flights. Submarine, the navies. All these people have to be not forgotten for what they did to save this country. And today we have so many of these guys here today, living today. And they're called veterans. Those are people, men and women of all races, right, that moved forward in the protection of the basic characteristics of America's Constitution. We wanted our freedom, our justice, and liberty.
We'll get back to that but, in a moment. Dan, what does Veterans Day mean to you?
First off, it means a lot of work.
I
Okay.
can imagine.
But I earned my commission in college at Worcester Polytech, and I got my gold bars in 1980. And that's September 15th, 1980. I raised my right hand and swore an oath to defend the Constitution. And to me, it's an opportunity to reaffirm that oath.
Yes.
And just to show the people of the city and anybody else who shows up, that we still respect and honor, the men and women that served.
Yeah, and it's also, as I'm thinking, that was probably unfair of me to say that means more to me than Memorial Day. But it's almost different because Memorial Day honors the dead, yet Veterans Day honors all of us. They're still living.
Right.
And there are many memories of our lost comrades who will live with us for as long as we're alive. Those people that were lost to us. And I know I'm thinking about today. Yeah.
So, because I would like to say that, it wasn't a nice day. Today might be a nice day outside, but it wasn't a nice day on in Pearl Harbor
No.
that Sunday morning. It wasn't a nice day in Midway, in the Philippines, in Wake Island,
Or Quezon.
Quezon. It wasn't a nice day in Okinawa. It wasn't a nice day in Europe and Sicily in the Battle of the Bulge. It wasn't a nice day for those veterans of today. It wasn't a nice day in Korea and Incheon.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't a nice day, in Vietnam, in Hill 57 on that June hot day where the 2nd Battalion, Lima Company, was pinned down by small armed fire until they got shipped to shore support, enabled Lima Company to pull out and check their dead and bandage up their wounded. So it wasn't a nice day. And this is what these men and women, so many of us, went through so that we, today, can have a nice day.
You know what? I used to be bothered by the when people say "thank you for your service," but my grandfather is from Litchfield, and he used to. I never met him. He was gassed in World War One, as was his brother. He didn't even make it. I think he made it to 60, where his father made it to 90, and maybe perhaps that had something to do with it. But he used to. He was a commandant, I think, of New Hampshire, of the American Legion.
Oh, okay.
In the 30s, in the 1930s. But he used to give the speech at Litchfield. So then I came back, and we went down there, got a great historical society. And for a couple of times I had the honor of delivering the address. But one of the times I have complex PTSD, they call it. Not PTSD, but complex PTSD. But something happened.
Well, I like that.
Because they used to call it delayed stress reaction. Well, mine was delayed for quite a long time.
Yeah, it happens.
And I was remembering who we'd lost that day, Memorial Day. Maybe that's why I wanted to forget about Memorial Day. And how am I going to deliver this speech? How am I going to deliver it? Because it's triggering me. But then I looked at the faces of the people in Litchfield, and they have this great, before COVID, they had like one of the best Memorial Days. And there was a woman in her 90s, and she had known my father as a boy. So I'm looking at her, and just looking at her, and then you look at the others, and they pulled me through it. Then you realize what they were saying when they say, "Thank you for your service." It's them too. We do it for them. And for that, we did it for them. But they are as part of it as we are, in a way,
Yep.
Yeah. That was something very profound for me. But they got me through that day. I didn't know how. My sister was there too. And she knew what was going on. She didn't know how I was going to get through that speech.
Yeah.
But they did. But the people of Litchfield brought me through. It's a community.
One thing about it, the World War One, they got the gas before they got the required mask.
That's
They had
true.
like 10 different versions of it. Poor guys that went through gassing in World War One.
Yeah, the troops next to my grandfather on the front. The gas came in with Senegalese colonial troops, black troops, and they took their handkerchiefs, urinated them, and put them, and that's what well, my grandfather was raised on a farm, so he wasn't as delicate as I was. I remember basic training well, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
But
So because of what Pete said earlier, about the conditions, my policy on the parade is rain or shine.
Right, of course.
Okay, it's going to go off, rain or shine.
Yep.
They sacrificed, in extreme conditions.
We have a phone
So-
call, and we'll talk about the parade.
Okay.
Hi, I'm not getting it in here, Brendan.
Pick it up? No, nothing? Uh-oh. Go to a break.
Well, I asked them to call back, and we'll talk about the parade now.
Okay.
Call back after we talk about the parade, and we're happy to take your call. Here, if you
Right.
can hand me that, I can put it up to the camera.
Okay.
And if you could zoom in, Brendan.
So the parade has been going. I can't remember how far back it goes, but It will start precisely at 10:30. We will march to City Hall.
You're going to go up near Webster. Is Webster Street?
Yeah, all right. So the parade starts at Webster and Elm,
Right.
and we're lined up on the North Elm side. We stop at City Hall, and then we, at 11 o'clock, we'll play taps, because that's the time that they sign the armistice. So it's 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month. And from there, once taps is played, we will continue on to Veterans Park. We will have a ceremony and wreath laying. And the speakers have promised me they'll keep their speeches to 30 minutes or less. Actually, 10 minutes, but. So, we'll have the mayor, Joyce Craig, there. I know that Senator Hassan and Congressman Pappas will be there. Senator Shaheen can't be there, but she sent me a letter. Senator Lou D'Alessandro usually shows up, but I haven't heard from his office yet. So we have the Grand Marshal this year is the incoming, or they call him the lead candidate for the American Legion National Commander. So he happened to be touring New Hampshire on that day, so he's going to be the Grand Marshal, and he'll be the key speaker. And then I have the opportunity of presenting the Tony Karam Award, which is something that's presented. It goes back to when Tony Karam was commander of the Manchester Veterans Council, and it's given to someone who, in the opinion of the Veterans Council, has contributed to the veterans' causes, and it could be any number of different ways. And this year's recipient, you'll find out tomorrow, so I don't want to tip him off.
Okay.
But he's been with us every year, every parade, and he does a really good job. And he's also a he's a Marine. So let's see, and then we'll have the dedication of the two final battlefield crosses. And we have West High School will be the band,
Nice.
on duty that day, which is
My alma mater.
My alma mater.
Oh, yeah.
So, and we'll have the fire department there. Well, they won't be there. They're going to lead the parade and
Right.
make a lot of noise to wake everybody up. I've actually got some New Hampshire National Guardsmen coming. We have some World War II, Vietnam, and later model Deuce and a Halfs and Jeeps, World War II and Vietnam reenactors, the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. There's
Are there going to be any of the cars?
there's gonna be a lot of
Classic
antique cars.
Yeah.
That'll be there. I belong to a British car club, and I talked it up with them, and we're gonna have a bunch of what we call LBCs, little British cars there. Going, I think one guy's bringing his '49 Triumph 2000.
Wow.
So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be nice because we haven't had a parade for almost a year and a half,
Right.
2 years. So we have a Miss New Hampshire contestant will be there.
Oh.
She's going to be up front with the dignitaries.
Nice.
So let's see if I can. The fourth thing has happened when you get old. You start to forget things, and I can't remember the other three.
Isn't that the truth?
But like the Nam Knights, there'll be the Legion Riders, and the other bands will be there too. Central and Memorial will be in the parade.
Nice.
So
Oh, that was the last part. Yeah, didn't have the
So-
bands.
right,
Oh, so
So
all the
everything.
schools going to be there just about.
right, yeah,
The
the
three
three high
schools.
schools. Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Now at West, when I was a kid, we had an NJROTC.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're going to have ROTC kids.
Yeah, NJROTC will be there.
Mm-hmm.
They like to march with West High School.
Yeah.
So they're going to be in the 3rd division. I've also got the Army Junior ROTC from Fall Mountain
Nice.
going to be here.
So we're having people from all over the state.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh yeah, just like yeah.
Yeah, it's going to
So-
be very nice, inviting everybody to come down to
Yep.
the Veterans Day Parade at 10:30 starts.
Are you marching, Pete?
I'll be at the park. I'll meet everybody at the park. I have marched before.
Yeah. Sometimes they put you in a car, convertible.
Well, if I get a car,
We have 3 deuce and a halves if you want to ride.
all right.
Well,
We
got
meet up at
stairs.
Sweeney Post.
As long
You
as
can
we don't
meet
have to
there
drive
or-
them.
Yeah, you can meet at Sweeney Post at 9 o'clock.
So, okay.
So if you're a veteran that can't walk for one reason or another and want to participate in the parade, we'll have at least 3 deuce and a halves that we have
Oh, that'll be
nobody.
great. With vets in them.
Yep. And we also have a bus. American Legion's providing a bus to shuttle people up.
Mm.
And
From the parking
if we-
lot at Sweeney
Sweeney,
Post. Yeah.
And let me think. If we have more people that we can get on in the cars that are available in the trucks, then the bus will go also. So,
Well, they were announced to Peter White on the morning show was talking about the parade, but people were thinking, is it on a weekday? Because most people don't realize that
Right.
of all the holidays, there's only one that's actually is on the day,
Right.
And that's Veterans Day, and it's because of New Hampshire. Because originally Veterans Day was a 3-day holiday, but New Hampshire refused to recognize it, and eventually that caught on. So live free or die
There
in
you go.
Granite State, right?
Yep.
We're granite-headed, granite-willed people.
yeah.
What brought you to New Hampshire about 30 years ago, Pete?
Oh, from my brother was here, veteran,
okay.
Angelo Escalera, Vietnam veteran, serving over 10 months over there in combat, and he was here, and I used to visit him from New York all the time.
Where were you from, Brooklyn?
Bed-Stuy,
Really?
do or die.
When you go back, I guess they're gentrifying.
The neighborhood has changed so much, and there's still some that I'll
Yeah.
recognize that are still there in the projects when I was brought up, but it has changed a great deal.
Oh yeah, when I was a kid, I went the Lower East Side.
Yeah.
Everybody went there.
Delancey Street?
Yeah. Oh, geez. No, we're out. I was the only place I could get was between C and D.
Yeah.
Down on they call it the alphabet.
Yeah, yeah.
And you think, oh my God, somebody got stabbed. This is in the early '80s.
Yeah.
Just. I wonder if I'll survive this. So I joined the Army instead. It's a long story, but I eventually did. But now I go down there, and it's every last 20 years you wouldn't even recognize it. But
Over from Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, we had, that's District 3, we have 17 of young men at that time from the projects that went into the military,
Yeah.
and 17 served in various different branches, and a few came back wounded, I think about 3 or 4, and we had one KIA that he died over there in Vietnam as a young man. So Vietnam and the war was always, in my mind growing up in the project, because I saw a lot of men going out to war that were older than me, but I knew they existed.
yeah,
And then I saw it change when they came back, and and they're veterans. The same, they didn't run, they ran too. They ran to defend the basic constitution. And these were African American, these were Latinos. And we continue because everybody has a responsibility, no matter where you come from, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Italian, wherever you're from, to defend America, the best country in the world, where we have basic, rules and regulations, and we must control that. We must respect other people's opinion, but do the right thing. In reality, what's best, not only for few, but for all. I encourage veterans to start utilizing the VA, if you're not, the VA hospital. They have a lot of reach out services to Latino veterans to reach out and to the VA for necessary help that you might need. And all those veterans that are out there that served and served proudly to continue their fight and move on, you know, and get the necessary help that they have and that they need. There's a lot of youth out there that are going through major struggles, you know, and I see it every day. But hang in there and reach out to the VA.
Yeah, can we talk a little, Dan, about the service organizations?
You know, like
Because
DAV.
particularly thinking about newer veterans,
Yeah.
a lot of them.
Well, there's, I mean, I see a lot of new veteran organizations starting up, mostly oriented around motorcycles, and we have a lot of organizations, you know, like Tunnels to Towers and Wounded Warrior,
Right.
you know, but the DAV, the VFW, and American Legion, and the AMVETS, you know, have been serving veterans since
100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over 100 years.
You know, the American Legion wrote the GI Bill in 1945. They represent, you know, the veterans in Congress. The national commander testifies to Congress every year.
That's true.
And when he says, I represent 3 million veterans, you know, he has to represent the accurate number. You know, there's a lot more veterans out there, and it would be really beneficial for, you know, to get the numbers up and membership. And, you know, if you're a younger veteran from the Gulf War, you know, I'm in that, like, the middle. I was in the Cold War.
Me too.
I was a Desert Storm, and then I deployed 3 times to Iraq and Afghanistan.
Whoa.
But, you know, if you're in that younger generation, don't think of the American Legion, the VFW, the DAV, and the AMVETS as a bunch of old men. Now, you can come into the organization and make it what you want. You know, I mean, right now the VFW in Manchester is struggling to get people to do things. You know, we have lots of opportunity. We have, you know, a bunch of activities, but we don't get very many people to come. So, you know, if you served overseas, you're eligible for the VFW.
That's right.
And come
Even in Berlin.
Right.
That was if you were field stationed Berlin, you could be VFW. But my father and my grandfather, organizations like the VFW and the American Legion were such a part of their lives.
Right.
It was kind of like bowling. You know, they say bowling has declined because, you know, when I was a kid, my mother was in a bowling league. My father, we all bowled.
Right.
But the thing about the American Legion is, like somebody told me about Mike Lopez. If anybody could help you, it's Mike Lopez. And what they mean is because the American Legion, Mike was, you know, in the Legion, but he has such institutional knowledge, and you have case officers there that know how to help you, that perhaps a newer organization doesn't have the expertise.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a full-time service officer. You know, that's his job to get people's cases through the VA. And
Right, and it's so frustrating when you file
Right.
For a disability, and somebody from the VA, not the VA, the American Legion, can help so much.
I mean, all 3, the DAV, I know the case, you know, the service officer personally, and the VFW and the American Legion, I know they have full-time service officers, and he's taking he's got like 1,000 cases right now. You know, but don't let that distract you. He works his little butt off, you know, and he comes on. We have our quarterly meetings, and he talks about all he's done, and how when someone tries to go it on their own, they might miswrite something.
Yeah.
You know, and then it gets in the system. Then it has to go for a review. And then it gets
Rejected.
You know, if you get it right the first time, you can get it right through. You know, so I know servicemen have the hardest time asking for help.
It's
Yeah.
true, and
You know,
another thing, when it gets rejected because you've done it your own, then you get mad.
Right. Yeah.
which is, it's normal, and because bureaucracy is frustrating.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons to use a case officer at the American Legion or the VFW is because they're there, they support you.
Right.
They're there so well they'll commiserate when you get mad, but they'll help you so
Right.
you can properly channel your energy into getting
Yep.
things done rather than giving up. So many people know they just give up, and
I just want to add, you don't have to be a member of the American Legion or the VFW to use the services of the service officer.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I just want to put that out there. So
And, they could always come down to the Sweeney post number 2, and see Mike Lopez or see me or
Yeah.
anyone over there is willing to give you information.
Yes,
A lot of
indeed.
activity, a lot of good people. It's not like it was mentioned. It's not bars and smoking and old guys and this.
Because
and
you're
that and
when
that.
you're a boy,
No.
when you went in with
Yeah.
your father.
We have all different type of activities over there. A lot of giveaways of helping veterans
Oh yeah.
and their families. Yeah, during the pandemic, a lot of food was given
Oh,
out.
yes.
To families, both veterans and non-veterans. So it's a good place to start. Good people. Come
Yeah.
on down, Sweeney Post on Maple.
Yeah, across from. Well, I was thinking across from JFK.
Yeah.
Might not exactly be. Well, it is across from
Stadium.
JFK.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gill Stadium. I don't know the address of Maple, but I know where it is. Oh yeah. But I think, Dan, the point you made about it being like the American Legion, the VFW, but for me, the Legion it's so well established. And as members, your voice gets heard. An analogous thing would be AARP. There's so many people in the American Association of Retired People that you give, it has clout. And the more people in the Legion, and it doesn't have to be your father's Legion or
Right.
my father was mad he wouldn't join the Legion because of his father's Legion in World
Right.
War I. He was a World War II vet, and I guess you reject your father's generation,
Right.
and he came back, and one of the issues. What was it? They called it shell shock, and then battle in World War I. Then they call it battle fatigue in my father's generation,
Right.
and then PTSD. And I know the Legion had, and the service organization, and the Vietnam Veterans Organization. The Vietnam veterans, after people talk about everything, the horrible treatment people got from Vietnam when you got back. But the Vietnam vets actually channeled a lot of that energy, and went for Congress, including people like John Kerry, all sorts of people that said,
Yep.
we have these problems and you need to address them. Like Max Cleland, Senator Max Cleland of Georgia, triple amputee. He was at Khe Sanh, won a Silver Star, but a couple of days later, a grenade went off. They amputated both his limbs and his legs and his right arm. And he lived till 79 years old.
Wow.
He was the VA, the head of the VA. Before it was a department in the cabinet. The Veterans Administration was not cabinet status. I don't think that was till Bill Clinton made it cabinet status.
Really? Didn't know
But
that.
under Jimmy Carter, Max Cleland of Georgia, like Jimmy Carter, was his Secretary of Veterans Affairs. And the Veterans Administration, they called it. Then it became
Right.
the Department of... But, and that was the first time. Cleveland was the youngest man ever to become the head of the VA. And that's when they started recognizing PTSD. But it was because of the Vietnam veterans
Yeah.
getting involved.
Even the Agent Orange.
Oh, Agent Orange
know?
was something.
It's
I
the same
remember-
thing as the fight that took.
what a fight,
Just to
huh?
get it recognized.
I used to go with my father occasionally. You see the guys from Agent Orange, the first guys. It was the ones that had it so badly. I don't want to describe, but
Yeah.
they went through. It was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And as a Marine, now they have the thing about the Camp Lejeune, the water. we could do a whole show on that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was I was in Camp Geiger, yes, and I drank the water.
But you have no proof of it. But see, the thing is, to the younger guys, you just keep pushing and pushing. The World War I vets created the Legion in 1919.
Right.
And well, my father said his World War II generation, when they came, they'd go to the Legion, get drunk, and fight.
Look at the World War I veterans, camped right in front of the White House.
Oh, yeah.
Hundreds of them, asking for their bonus pay.
Thousands of them, yeah. But
and then who was the president? Wilson? No.
that was Hoover.
Hoover. Hoover said, Colonel MacArthur.
Well, he was a general.
No.
Oh yeah, he was he had 2 stars. He was a major general. But it was Eisenhower was his aide de camp. Hey,
That's right.
we'll have you back on the show. We can talk about
Yeah,
that.
I'd love talking about
That's a whole another thing. But you're talking. Is there an organization for Latino veterans?
Not that I know of.
Right.
I'm sure there is,
Yeah.
I'm sure there is. I'm not connected with it, I'm just personalized here in Manchester and in Mass and New York. I speak to, and I see a lot of Latino veterans,
Oh, yes.
And Jewish veterans, To me, I don't, you're Italian, you're a vet. You served, you move forward. You didn't move back. You didn't go to Canada. You didn't do this. You moved forward. You didn't want to, but you went.
Well, one of the things about military service, because like African Americans went to World War One, and they actually were treated better than World War II,
Yeah.
which is a strange anomaly. But then when they come back as a veteran after World War One and World War II, well, we're not going to be treated like that anymore.
The African Americans that served over in Europe, and particularly in France, were very.
Yes.
They were accepted by the community, by the soldiers that were glad they were there. They were, pretty good.
Yeah, they were treated
But it
better
wasn't
than World
until
War II.
General Pershing at the time said, to the French generals, hey, we got to stop this because this ain't reality. He knew it. Then when they go back, there was going to be racism.
He actually commanded black troops.
sure.
The Buffalo Soldiers.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah, Black Jack Pershing. That's where he got his name. Okay, we have a phone call. But it is fascinating because,
I wonder who's that.
when you're a veteran, it doesn't matter what your race or religion
Nope.
is. Hi, welcome to Ward 13.
John.
Hello.
John?
Yes.
Hey, this is Mike Lopez.
Hi, Mike. We're missing you today.
Oh, Mike.
No. I got 2 good people there. They're doing great.
Oh, we're having a great time.
Listen, I just wanted to mention that on the battlefield crosses that's completed, the disabled American veterans took the lead in completing that project. Dan is right.
CAV?
8214 VFW is sponsoring the World War I, and the other one is the Korean War veterans that's going to be there.
Yeah.
That's sponsored by the Catholic War Vets. So that completes the project, and there'll be a ceremony after Dan gets done with the regular Veterans Day ceremony. So we want people to stick around. I just wanted to get that plug in. But you got Pete there to tell you all about the Latinos.
Not just that. we're getting the history of World War I and afterwards, the bonus march.
I know. Let's get back to reality. We can talk about those war stories.
Well, Mike, thank you for.
You take care. You take care, John.
Bye, Mike.
Yeah, thank you for calling. It wouldn't be a Veterans Day without you calling in. Thank you.
You owe me.
Take care. This phone. I hope I've hung it up. Now it's gonna go like doot doot doot.
You're good.
I was good till I push the button, Brandon. But yeah, I think that 1948, Harry Truman, as president, officially desegregated the military. As my father told me, a lot of hell, a lot of veterans, a lot of soldiers of color went through. But yet it happened because how can you deny the contributions of the people that served? It's like there was a draft in World War I. And they draft Native Americans. Native Americans weren't U.S. citizens. They were They were
Natives.
citizens of their own nations.
Yeah.
They weren't. Most people don't realize until 1922 or 23, and Native America was not a U.S. citizen, and I guess they got taxed after that. Just like if you're a Puerto Rican in the in the continental United States, or not in Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
you get taxed. If you're still in Puerto Rico, you don't get taxed.
That's right.
But
If you live in Puerto Rico, you could be drafted by the president of the
right.
United States,
yes, at his pleasure.
but you can't vote for him.
Right.
Can't vote. There's no general election for president. But if you live in America or USA, you can vote.
We had at the Defense Language Institute, I can't remember his first name because I'm Hoppy, you all have. I know his name was Figueroa. And his father was a famous attorney in San Juan and as nationalist, so he refused to have his son learn English. So he joins the army. We don't know why he joined the army. Probably to get away from his father, right? Like many of us. Or we joined because our father was in the military. But he was simultaneously learning Russian and English at the same time. And he was like the best student. And there's stories I could tell about that because, every language has obscenities, and but we won't get into that. And you know what it's like to be in the army. But that was fascinating that he first started learning English. I'm sure he had to pick some up, before. But his father was adamant, very much a nationalist. No, you'll just know Spanish. And so he went through basic training. Then he's in the Defense Language Institute, 47 weeks. And he picks up English and Russian at the same time. Yeah, so it was the people you always met in the military. You find out that your brothers they could be black from Chicago, some cracker from Mississippi, and then another guy, like a black guy from Mississippi in the same county from a different experience.
Yeah, but
And it changed. The military service, I think, in the two world wars, Korea and Vietnam, changed society because you think of all the people you meet. My father, they just started the Navy. In the Navy in World War II, blacks were only allowed to be stewards, stevedores, but they finally were allowing some officers. But unlike the Army didn't have a pleasant time. Like look at Jackie Robinson, who was a lieutenant, and he got court-martialed because he wouldn't go to the back of the bus on a military bus.
Oh, really?
It's a story. But he was a UCLA grad, and an officer and a gentleman. But the Navy had a very hard time, and the Corps did too.
It's so funny how we at that time you were identified by the color, because if you came from, let's say, Puerto Rico, where you have a mixture of, you have whites, you have black, right? So if a black man and a black and a white man, and they're both from Puerto Rico, that black man will go be segregated with the African American. And this one, the white one that didn't know no English or nothing, will be in the regular army.
Yeah.
So everything was identified as colors, an uncle of mine that was in World War II
Yeah.
told me about that, Yeah, that's where he learned English, that's where, and it's so funny, and I'm glad that we got away from that,
Yeah. And the colonial troops, my grandfather fought with colonial troops from Africa, Senegal,
You're right.
They were famous too as fighters because the French Empire.
Yeah.
You're not quite a French citizen, but they use them.
And those guys were around the area of Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. That's where they came from.
Well, no, this Senegal's. We're talking about West Africa. You're talking about you're talking about Indochina. Yeah. Which France lost. Japan didn't. Japan took it, but couldn't keep it. Then France, then us. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Empires.
it's a lot to talk about, with veterans, and the different wars that we had and who participated. 150,000 Latinos participated in wars. it's about 16% of the military today consists of Latinos throughout our nation, defending our Constitution. So, you know.
Oh yeah, I served with many Latinos and people from Latin America. So we had one
Exactly.
person from Venezuela.
Panama.
Yeah, in those days you could get your citizenship
That's
after.
correct.
I can't remember how many years it was.
Eight
It was
years of service.
Yeah.
Then you can apply for it, and it wasn't automatic, but
Right.
you still, you got
Oh, it was started with
treatment,
automatic.
special treatment, preferential treatment.
Yeah.
For it.
And, you know.
Yeah, well, I was in military intelligence, and our one of our patron saint was a Mexican American. He won the Medal of Honor, and I remember I was at the where they have the National Security Agency. You always wonder what you can talk about. So where the my LT, my lieutenant, my LT was from West Point. And he went to see a speech by this guy. For my life of me, I can't remember. I could see his face, but the name just isn't coming. And he won the Medal of Honor because some Army security agency unit was on a hill. And the Viet Cong are overrun, or the NVA, the North Vietnamese Army.
Right.
And he's a master sergeant. He comes down with a helicopter. Everybody, let's watch to get into the helicopter. They're all in the helicopter. He says, but you're leaving behind the secure information. So he went down. He got out of the chopper, went down there, got grievously wounded, saved everything, and they gave him a Medal of Honor. And I'll never forget what the LT said later. He says, I shook his hand and everything. I'm thinking, you must be crazy to have done that. Leave, because they were being overrun by the North Vietnamese army. But this guy, who, in 1960s, as a Mexican American, he probably knew racism and that, but the army is beyond that, or the military service, or the Corps. You belong to that. And that was his duty. And he's no longer with us. He was on a stamp. And I thought about, every now and then I think about him. He was our one person from military intelligence that won the Medal of Honor.
Wow.
And which you don't win. I used to go to Walter Reed and read the citations of the medics. Joined as conscientious objector. The things those guys did. But it's a thing about being in the Marine Corps, the Army, Navy, whatever. You belong to. It's like they're in the part of that organization too.
It's fine memories. You never forget your tours, and your years in the military. In my particular case, since I was drafted, I really never wanted to be there at all. Got drafted. I didn't register to go to college in time, and on '69. By October.
Well, they took it away for a year too.
And I was like one of the last bunches to get drafted. And at first I didn't like it at all. I fought in boot camp, in Paris Island. I fought very hard in there, but they said no.
They made you a Marine.
Yeah, and I was glad because I was 18 and a half. And it was the first time away from New York, and here I am in South Carolina.
Oh, we have an incoming call. Hello, welcome to Ward 13.
Hi, John. This is Jim in Manchester.
Hello.
I just wanted to was the name Roy Benvenidez?
I think so, yeah. That sounds very familiar.
Benitez?
I can see his face.
Benitez? Yeah, this is Jim the Poet Guy. I'm watching your show.
Okay.
I think it was Roy Benvenidez.
Yeah, I can see that face and that chest of medals and the Medal of Honor around, around his neck.
Right. He was in the 82nd Division or something like that.
Yeah.
82nd Airborne. Huh?
No.
I just wanted to let you know, Roy Benvenidez.
Okay, thank you so much. Take care.
All right, John. Bye-bye.
Yep, bye. And why don't you, we're going to wrap up, and I'm going to show something by Max Cleland.
Yep.
And why don't you, once again, just give speak to the camera and tell with the parade, the details.
Okay, so
Closing the.
Yeah.
one last time, the parade will begin at 10:30 at Webster and Elm, and continue down. We'll march down Elm Street. Numerous military vehicles, ROTC units, high school bands, American Legion, VFW members, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, We'll stop at City Hall to play taps at 11 o'clock, and then we'll move on to Veterans Park, then have our regular Veterans Day ceremony, and we have Mayor Joyce Craig, Senator Hassan, and Congressman Pappas in attendance for sure. Looking forward to Lou D'Alessandro. He's always there.
Marine.
Anyways. And the lead candidate from the American Legion, National Commander Jim Triola. And
we want you to be there.
Yes.
It's going to be a great parade. Our first, because we missed a couple.
Right.
And thank you very much. We're going to end with Max Cleland. It's a tape I took. And next week I'll tell you an anecdote about it. But I'll tell you two now. But we'll see you next week.
Let me introduce to you today Senator Max Cleland and the next Senator Elizabeth Warren. And so I grew up with the legacy of service to this nation, especially in the United States military. Now it's my honor today to introduce to you a lady who's grown up with that same spirit of service and same appreciation for the American military. First of all, if you're a sister and you got 3 brothers and you grew up in that household, number 1, you're a strong sucker. And number 2, you better have great respect for the United States military because all 3 of those serve in the military. As a matter of fact, Elizabeth's oldest brother did 288 missions, combat missions in Vietnam. Wow. So I respect that tremendously. I will say for you this, that those of us who serve in the American military, we are focused somewhat on our own survival, but certainly on the survival of those around us. And from time to time we forget that our families suffer and serve as well. Elizabeth understands that especially with a family military, which we have today, we just don't deploy or send someone to war that's one person. It's all of the people in that family, all the brothers and sisters and young people and aunts and uncles. They go with that spouse as well. Elizabeth understands that. I was proud to be head of the Veterans Administration when we had the GI Bill for Vietnam veterans. And we sent about 60% of those back to college. And now, appreciates it, that appreciates that, understands that, and who has been a college teacher and appreciates those people in that classroom. Jerry and John for being here. We thank all of you for coming out today. This is a very special woman. I want you to know, the reason I know that, I've looked at her binder.